The letter sat there, sealed, untouched for 2 weeks after he was gone. It was just an ordinary envelope, sitting on a dusty desk in a quiet house. But when his daughter finally mustered the courage to open it, what she found inside turned her world upside down. Imagine discovering that everything you thought you knew about someone you loved was only half the story. Imagine realizing, only after they're gone, that you never truly understood them. Until now. This is the story of Walter Morgan, a man of few words, whose final letter spoke louder than a lifetime of silence. Walter Morgan was born in 1935 in a small Kansas town, where the wind howled louder than the people. The son of a World War I veteran and a schoolteacher, Walter grew up in a world that valued grit over sentiment. As a boy, he'd watch his father fix tractors in the blistering heat, never complaining, never stopping. That was Walter's first lesson. Real strength is quiet, steady, and unyielding. By 18, he was a mechanic, his hands perpetually stained with grease, his days filled with the hum of engines and the crackle of an old battery-powered radio. For 40 years, he fixed cars, trucks, anything with gears. Always reliable, always there like the steady tick of a grandfather clock. He married Elaine in 1959, a woman whose laughter could light up a room, and together they raised 2 kids, Martha and Jonathan. From the outside, Walter's life looked painfully ordinary. A modest house, a worn-out toolbox, a routine as predictable as the Kansas sunrise. But beneath that surface, there was something more, a quiet sadness, a weight he carried but never named. Friends called him dependable. His kids called him distant. And Walter? He just kept moving forward, one oil change at a time. Walter wasn't the hugging type. When his daughter Martha graduated college, her cap still wobbly from the ceremony, she looked to her dad for a spark of pride, a word of warmth. Instead, he nodded and said, "Good job. Now find something stable." It stung. Martha craved more, a letter, a smile, something to show he cared. But Walter's love wasn't loud. It was in the things he did. When Martha's car broke down, he'd have it running by dawn, no questions asked. When the family struggled with bills, money would appear in the cookie jar, no explanation given. For Walter, love wasn't words, it was action. But actions don't always translate. Martha and Jonathan grew up feeling a gap, a longing for the words their father couldn't say. They saw his silence as coldness, his practicality as indifference. And yet, Walter kept showing up, fixing, providing, enduring. He was a man built from an older mold, shaped by a generation that believed vulnerability was a luxury he couldn't afford. Did he know his kids ached for more? Maybe. But if he did, he buried it deep, behind the hum of his radio and the clank of his wrench. When Elaine passed away in 2018, Walter's world grew quieter. At 84, he became a shadow of himself, rarely leaving his small home. He'd sit at his wooden desk, scribbling in a notebook, his pen moving like it was chasing something he could never quite catch. No one knew what he was writing. He didn't share, and they didn't ask. In September 2020, a stubborn cough turned into pneumonia, and Walter was admitted to the same hospital where Elaine had slipped away. On the morning of September 14th, he was gone. Alone, his final breath as quiet as his life. Martha, now 52, returned to her father's house to sort through his things. The air was heavy with grief and unanswered questions. On his desk, she found it, a plain brown envelope with her name in his careful handwriting. "To my daughter. Open when you're ready." Her heart sank. Was this another practical note? A list of chores? Or worse, words that would deepen the ache she'd carried for years? She wasn't ready to find out. Not yet. 2 weeks later, in the stillness of 2 a.m., Martha couldn't wait any longer. With trembling hands, she tore open the envelope. What she found wasn't a list or a lecture. It was her father's heart, poured onto 3 fragile pages. "Dear Martha," it began, "if you're reading this, my silence has finally spoken louder than I ever could." Walter's words were raw, unguarded, unlike anything she'd ever known from him. He wrote about his struggle to show affection, a struggle rooted in a promise he made as a boy. When Walter was 19, his older brother, James, died in the Korean War. Their father, broken by loss, told Walter, "You're the man of the house now. To Walter, that meant being strong, stoic, unshakable. They taught me that a real man stays quiet, he wrote. But that silence cost me moments with you and Jonathan, smiles I never shared, hugs I was too afraid to give. He described watching Martha from afar, her strength reminding him of Elaine. He admitted to tearing up when she laughed with her kids, a joy he felt but couldn't express. You're everything I wished I could have been, he wrote. You taught me that love means being vulnerable, even when it scares you. I'm sorry I learned it so late. The final line hit like a wave. I love you. I always have. I just didn't know how to say it right. Martha read it again and again, tears blurring the ink. For the first time, she saw her father not as distant, but as human, flawed, trying, and loving in the only way he knew how. That letter didn't just break Martha's heart, it rebuilt it. The pain of years spent feeling unseen melted into understanding. Walter hadn't been cold. He'd been trapped, bound by lessons from a world that valued silence over sentiment. Martha felt a weight lift, a wound close. She realized her father had given her his truth, raw and unfiltered, in the only way he could. But Martha didn't keep that truth to herself. She turned the letter into a small book, Letter from Dad, self-published with no expectation of fanfare. To her shock, it spread. Readers from across the country shared their own stories, of parents who never said, I love you, of regrets carried across generations, of silences that hid deep love. The book became a quiet phenomenon, a beacon for those navigating their own unresolved stories. And here's where it gets real for you too. Have you ever felt that ache for words left unsaid? Maybe you're carrying a story like Martha's. If you are, hit that subscribe button and join us at Senior Life Realities. Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story might just help someone else heal. And don't forget to share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Together, we can keep these stories alive. Walter's story isn't just about a letter. It's about what we leave behind. He showed us that love doesn't always look the same. For some, it's a hug, a phone call, a loud, I'm proud of you. For others, it's a fixed car, a hidden dollar, a letter written in the final days. Walter's silence wasn't empty. It was full of a love he didn't know how to voice. And his story begs the question, how many of us are waiting for the perfect moment to say what matters most? How many of us are holding back, thinking we'll have time later? The truth is, time doesn't wait. Walter's letter was his last chance, and he took it. What's stopping you? Maybe it's fear, pride, or just not knowing where to start. But Walter's story proves it's never too late to try. Not until the very end. Maybe you're like Martha, waiting for a sign from someone you love. Or maybe you're like Walter, loving deeply but struggling to show it. Either way, there's one thing we know. Words have power. They can heal, they can bridge gaps, they can outlive us. So don't wait for the perfect moment. Write that letter. Make that call. Say the words you've been holding back. Because when it's all said and done, those are the things that linger, the words that cross time. What would you write if today was your last chance? Think about it. And if you've got a story of your own, a moment of overcoming, a lesson learned, a love finally spoken, send it to us at seniorliferealities@gmail.com. Your story could be the next one we share, inspiring thousands to find their own closure. If Walter's story moved you, drop a comment below. Tell us how it hit you, or share your own story of love, loss, or redemption. Subscribe to Senior Life Realities and hit the bell so you don't miss the next chapter. Every week, we bring you real stories with lessons that hit deep. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, because these stories matter. And if you've got a story of your own, send it to seniorliferealities@gmail.com. Who knows? The next video might just be about you. See you next time.